Hello chess friends and welcome to Chess Chess channel and welcome back to the TCEC season 21. So we're following now this prestigious tournament. We're following now the great tournament with the great match game between the two top engines, Dragon and Stockfish. Dragon becomes actually the second best engine now in the world because Stockfish is of course in the lead, but the Dragon is now on the second place. Lila C0 is only on the fourth place, which is really wild. So Lila C0 has trouble to make it maybe to the finals. We'll see now what will happen, but so far the Dragon engine, as I said, is now the second force when it comes to chess engines. In the beginning of this tournament, Stockfish really started great with all of the wins with the white pieces, then made also some great draws with the black pieces, but now Stockfish faced the Dragon engine with the black pieces in a really dubious opening, we have to say it, because there are of course the pre-arranged lines which are not good for black. Basically the whole concept of the TCEC season 21 is that the engines have to play really bad openings as black, so then white has to attack the position, white has to win the position, black has simply to defend the dubious line. So let's check out now what happened between the two top engines, Dragon and Stockfish. Here Dragon opened with the move d4, so we'll come to that point of course to which the moment the game was prearranged. We have c4 c6, the Slav defense, knight to f3, knight to f6, and we have now the so-called quiet variation, the quiet line with the move e3. Of course there are better lines with knight to c3, bishop to g5, but okay, e3 is a fast developing style of the light square bishop, and we're also protecting our c4 pawn. So here in the continuation we have bishop to f5, which is the so-called shallop defense here with the move bishop to f5, normal development of the light square bishop. And now after move knight to c3, now comes actually the first, I think, mistake that was prearranged by the organizer that black simply had to play. It's the move d takes c4, because you don't have to play this move. It's really unnecessary to take out the pawn on c4, giving up a little bit your center, because now e4 is the main goal now of white, getting these two centralized pawns connected, because what we can notice in this types of structure that white has this pawn majority in the center, so that's why e4 is now the main move to make simple progress in the center. So after move d takes c4 to c, I think that white has a comfortable game, because white can simply take e6. Now a better idea is, as I said, simply to proceed here with the move e6, but as we said, this was simply a prearranged line, d takes c4, bishop to c4, now e6, and now castling here knight to d7, queen to e2, and now the last prearranged move by the organizer was the move knight to e4. Although you have occupied the e4 square, there is now a great way to battle with the knight on e4. Here Dragon plays immediately knight to d2, we have knight takes d2, bishop to d2, now bishop to g6, and we see now this move that was prepared here by Dragon, e4. Now these two pawns are really great, they are controlling the center of the board. Now Stockfish tries really tricky line, knight to b6, attacking the bishop, bishop to b3, and Stockfish takes now the pawn on d4, but it's actually one of these poisonous pawns, because we see now that actually after taking this pawn, white has really here a great game. White has now several tempi that can of course create further madness in the continuation of the game. Now after move queen to d4, the queen is in danger. We have bishop to e3 attacking the queen, queen to b4. If you try now of course to I don't know, get back to d8, again it's not so good, because I think with rook to d1 the queen can't get endangered. Again you have to move the queen somewhere. Now f4 f5 is also serious threats that black has to take care of. So as I said, white, although down the pawn, has I think here a comfortable game with great attacking opportunities with the flank attack on the king side with f4 f5, but also with some attacks on the d file after potential maybe even e5 here, and f5. I think even the knight could come on a very active square, maybe here on e4 if the bishop, the light square bishop of blacks would be blocked out. So that's why retreating here to d8, it's simply not an option. So that's why queen to b4 here Stockfish tried at least to stay somewhere active with the queen, at least some kind of an activity with the queen attacking further the position. In the continuation we have king to h1, which is a great positional move, getting the king into security, because white doesn't have to rush into this attack. White has such a great setup. We can notice now this knight is good, the bishops are good, the rooks can be activated, the queen is centralized on the board. f4 f5, as we said, is a great opportunity, so that's why no need to rush into the attack. So h5 here by Stockfish, we have f4, we have h4, and now of course f5, simply attacking the bishop, bishop to h5. That that was part of here Stockfish defensive idea here. Bishop to h5, at least getting the queen attacked. Here queen to f2, you see dragon retreats, but it's not only that dragon retreated here, it's also a great counter attack now with queen to f2, building this very powerful queen and bishop battery on dark squares. Also, we can notice that we have now another battery on the f-file with the queen and rook battery, so now there is also attention on the f-file. Really brilliant position game so far by Dragon. So queenside castling played by Stockfish. You could maybe try here knight to c4, maybe to block a little bit this activity of the light square bishop, but actually it's not so good because you get simply f takes e6. So the defense with the move knight to c4, I think it's a little bit too slow, because after f takes e6, now bishop to g5 will happen. The problem is now the bishop is paralyzing the king. The king cannot castle anymore, so the castling idea has to be played. I think you have to secure the king, because if the king stays so long in the center, then of course Dragon will find a great way to attack for the position. Bishop to g5, then you could maybe try bishop to e7 to trade off the pieces. Now after bishop to e7, the problem is I think you have to take with the king now queen to h4, then of course black is simply tactically lost here. You cannot take with the queen because the queen is stuck a little bit to the defense of the knight of c4. So as said, here knight to c4 is not an opportunity. Even if you try here bishop to e7, again this idea f takes e6, then you would be forced I think to play the move f6, because if you take here with the pawn, then again bishop to e6 will happen, and again you don't have time to castle. So as said, the king will stay here in the center, so that's why Stockfish decided to castle, but it of course leaves now the e6 pawn unprotected. F takes e6, f takes e6, and now bishop to e6 comes with the check. King to b8, and now a4 immediately by Dragon, which is a great choice. I think we have to attack now the king further, because we have now this opposite side attack game. The kings are on opposite sides, so it's already time to attack the position by moving some pawns. Even if you lose some pawns, I mentioned that phrase always, even if you lose now some pawns on the queen side, it doesn't matter. The point of these moves is simply to open the position, to open some files, some diagonals. If you could just imagine now this position, even with the a pawn, it would be a great position for white, because then the a file is open with this queen and bishop battery. I think white has a dominant position. I think that we would love to even give up here the pawn just in order to open the a file. I think that the position would be much better without the a pawn. That's the point of this flank attack. So after move a4, we have now bishop to d6 by Stockfish, tries of course to activate more pieces. Now a5 attacking the knight. We have rook to f8, queen to g1, not a problem. We still have a great opportunity here to retreat with the queen, but staying also very active here with this queen and bishop battery on dark squares. We have knight to c8, protecting of course the a7 pawn. Here bishop to c8, and then after king to c8, it doesn't bring you so much to just grab this pawn, because what we can notice now that actually it's white that has now several problems, because now h3 will happen. You have given up your light square bishop, which was the key protector of light squares. Now with move h3, I think that black has a pleasant game. The pawn structure is already messed up. Now there is even a great way maybe to sneak in with the bishop with the move bishop to f3. So that's why giving up here the bishop in such an open game is not so good. You should not do this. You should always evaluate your strength of the bishop in such open games like this. You see tactics are all over the board, so that's why giving up your bishops, please take care of them, because maybe sometimes it's possible, but at least you should consider some other options when you give up bishops in such an open game. It could be really a suicide. After move knight to c8, here the Dragon simply took rook takes f8, rook takes f8, and now a great move e5. e5 is a brilliant move. There are now basically two good moves here for black. Bishop to e7 or bishop to e5. Bishop to e7 seemed to me in the beginning that it's much better, but actually white will always find a great way to attack for the position with the move queen to with the move a6, and then queen to c1. Queen to c1 is indirectly attacking the pawn on c6. I think that's now the main target here. That's now the main problem. You see the bishop on e6 is still protecting the potential h3 move. If that happens, white will simply take. But there is also a great new attacking possibility here for black, for white, with the move rook to a4. Rook to a4 and then maybe rook to c4 is a great option, or maybe even rook to d4 and then maybe rook to d7. That would be sort of a path for the rook. That's actually, I think, a great attacking opportunity here for white. So that's why here black doesn't have to time to regroup here with the bishop on e7, so that's why black is pretty much forced to play bishop takes e5. But now the game becomes tactical here with the move bishop to c5. The rook is hanging here, queen to b2, bishop takes f8. Now we have queen to c3, but now rook to c1, attacking the queen. The problem is now you cannot you cannot play queen to a5. That's the main issue, because you get simply rook to c5, and the problem is now all of your pieces are on the 5th rank, so both of these bishops are on the 5th rank, so you lose one of them for sure. You can maybe try to defend this one, but now after queen to e1, here bishop to d6 can be played, but now after bishop to d6, queen to d6 or knight to d6, but now this bishop is hanging, so it's of course completely winning here for white. So after move rook to c1, here Stockfish retreated here to d2, but now bishop to c5, we have g5, bishop to e3, attacking simply the queen, queen to d6, now bishop to f5, getting the piece more centralized. We have the h3, we have simply a6, now bishop to queen to f6, attacking the bishop. We have rook to f1, the queen is attacked indirectly. Here queen to d6, and now bishop to e4, again centralizing the bishop. If you take now, it's not a problem, we'll simply take out with the bishop. Still both of our bishops are active. We have great protection of the king. Now the pawn structure is messed up in front of black's king, so I think again that black is simply tactically lost. So after move bishop to e4, here dragon played Stockfish played bishop to g6. We have bishop to f3, queen to d3, and now simply taking here a takes b7, king to b7, but now the queen gets more and more danger. Queen rook to d1, attacking the queen, queen to f5, now rook to c1, attacking now this pawn. Here in the continuation, Stockfish tried bishop to e8. If you try maybe knight to d7, knight to e7, maybe to protect this pawn, still queen to e1 can happen. We can still attack this position further. I think there is always a great way. This is now the main target, this pawn here on a7. I think this pawn can be further attacked with queen to a5, maybe even queen to b4 idea. So the activity of white pieces, I think, is simply too much to handle. Both of these bishops are very active. The rook can move all over first rank. The queen can get activated, so it's already a lost game here for black. So here in the continuation, bishop to e8 was played instead of knight to e7. In the continuation, we have rook to b1, king to c7, and now dragon simply takes, knight takes bishop takes a7. We have bishop to d7, bishop to b6, king to d6, and now rook to e1, cutting off here the potential escape by the king on the e file. Now it's time to get the queen into the game. In the continuation, we have queen to f4, but not a problem. Great move here by dragon, queen to c5. We have rook to king to e6, and now comes the stunner. Rook takes e5, queen to e5 has to be played, but now a great deflection motif, deflecting the king from the defense of the queen. Bishop to g4. We have king to f6, and now bishop to d8, again deflecting the piece from the defense of the king. Here knight to e7 has to be played. We have queen to e5, king takes e5, but now this bishop is hanging on d7, and of course completely winning here for white. So here in the continuation, knight to g6, we have bishop to g5, h takes g2, king takes g2, c5, king to f3, c4, bishop to b5, attacking the pawn, king to f5, here bishop to d2 and c3, and after bishop takes c3, in this position Stockfish resigned, which is really wild. The Komodo won, Dragon won the game against Stockfish. Now Dragon is only half of the point behind Stockfish. It's really wild. We'll see what will happen. In my opinion, we'll see now a different final than we used to see before. I think in this TCEC season 21 we'll see the final between Stockfish and the Dragon. In my opinion, the Stockfish engine is still better, because Stockfish is really brutalizing with white pieces. Now Stockfish was pretty much forced to play this dubious line, but we'll see now what will happen. At least I think we have also some other great engines like the Dragon engine, because it's playing really great. So we'll see, as I said, who'll move up to the final. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting stuff here, interesting tactics all over the board. If you want to see more brutal attacks like this, check out my commented chess games play by computer series with some more Alpha Zero, Lila Zero, Stockfish, Dragon games, and many more. And if you want to see humans battling in their best chess games, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also the link. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.